I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry. I literally was famous before I knew my own name.
There's Corey Haim. Corey Haim, come here for a second. He's in the movie with me. This is Corey Haim. He was in Lost Boys, and he was in the movie License to Drive, which is coming out in August. And we're doing that movie together, too. Yep.
It was beyond my control.
Sure.
That said, we are planning on making a film of that same story. Stories about what's going on in Hollywood and the fact that there is an epidemic that's been there since the 20s and 30s of taking advantage of children and taking advantage of parents who are unaware of what's going on with their children. And, you know, that plays out in all sorts of different ways, from feeding to kids to making them get drunk and doing things that are inappropriate.
They were once the most famous teen duo in Hollywood, but behind the smiles and the flashing lights was a darkness no one could imagine.
You let me get around in my life, man, so to speak, when I was about 14 and a half, and I'm saying this right now.
If I was being at the same time by somebody else, what'd you do?
Could Corey Haim's tragic death have been planned by the very industry that made him a star? Today, we delve into the haunting revelations made by Corey Feldman, who says that Hollywood didn't just take away Haim's career, they took his life.
Breaking news from Los Angeles, where 80s teen heartthrob Corey Haim has died from an apparent overdose.
But who in Hollywood is really responsible for Haim's tragic demise? What dark forces were involved? And what does Charlie Sheen have to do with it all?
He went into great detail. He told me, Charlie bent me over in between two trailers and put Crisco oil on my and to me.
Corey Feldman has long claimed that Corey Haim's tragic death wasn't accidental. For years, he's fought to expose the sinister figures in Hollywood who prey on young stars. But his shocking statements about Charlie Sheen and others raise more questions than answers. What really happened in the final days of Corey Haim's life? How deep does this conspiracy go, and why is Hollywood so silent? Let's take a deep dive into the disturbing details, including Corey Haim's autopsy, the accusations against Charlie Sheen, and how Corey Feldman's revelations have shaken Hollywood to its core. It all started with a meteoric rise. Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, two of the biggest teen stars of the 80s, were known as the two Coreys. Together, they starred in blockbuster hits like The Lost Boys and became symbols of Hollywood success.
Corey Haim, come here for a second. He's in the movie with me. This is Corey Haim. He was in Lost Boys, and he was in the movie License to Drive, which is coming out in August. And we're doing that movie together, too. Yep.
But behind the fame, Corey Haim was battling a silent nightmare. While Feldman managed to stay in the limelight, Haim's life was spiraling out of control. His struggles with substance abuse were well documented, but few knew the deeper demons that haunted him. According to Corey Feldman, these demons weren't just personal struggles. They were the result of Hollywood.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
In 2011, Corey Haim's life came to a tragic end. His death was ruled as pneumonia, but Feldman insists that Hollywood itself was responsible for orchestrating Haim's demise. Perhaps the most shocking allegation is when Feldman wrote about his own experience growing up as a young actor in 1980s Hollywood, and particularly about the essay both he and Corey Haim allegedly suffered as a result.
I'll go you one better. You let me get around in my life, man, so to speak.
In Corey Feldman's autobiography, Choreography, Feldman claimed that he had been M for years by older men working in the entertainment industry. He also wrote that Corey Haim approached him with similar stories early on in their friendship, and that this mutual trauma formed a strong bond between them. Feldman later spoke to People magazine about the A, but stated that he would not name names so as to protect Haim's mother from any more pain. There are people that did this to me and Corey that are still working. They're still out there, and they're some of the most rich and powerful people in this business, and they do not want what I'm saying right now. They want me dead, Feldman said. Feldman later released a documentary film titled My Truth, The R of Two Coreys, in which he further detailed the essay he and Haim allegedly faced. The documentary chronicled Feldman's long journey to shed light on the abuse he claimed child actors endured at the hands of the entertainment industry. Feldman also explained at the premiere that the film was his way of honoring a promise he made to his former co-star and late best friend Corey Corey Haim to tell his story.
That's why I say media blackout, because all the mainstream media has prevented me from coming forth and talking about this story.
The documentary started where Haim's story tragically ended, with an audio recording of the 911 call his mother made after finding him unresponsive in their Los Angeles home in 2010. The release of My Truth coincided with the 10th anniversary of Haim's death. The 38-year-old actor was pronounced dead a few hours later, with the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office ruling his death as pneumonia, debunking earlier reports that he might have overdosed.
In watching everything that's happened today and the reports that have come out, the first thing I need to say is people need to stop.
From there, the film delved into the friendship between the two Coreys, as they were famously known, shifting between their rise as successful child actors and the strained relationship that developed when Haim suggested Feldman knew about the abuse he had suffered as a child but did nothing to stop it. This tension was captured in an episode of The Two Coreys, a reality show that aired for 2 seasons on A&E before Haim's passing. For Feldman, that meant revealing the names of the men who, he alleged, abused the two best friends turned surrogate brothers as they navigated the intense spotlight of Hollywood in the late 80s and early 90s.
Nobody knows, and nobody's going to know. We all are aware of the fact that Corey Haim has had a long and detailed history.
Feldman has long spoken about the abuse he claimed both he and Haim endured as child actors. In an interview with Rolling Stone the previous year, Feldman accused 2 industry men of S.A.ing him when he was 14 and hinted that a famous actor had S.A.'d Haim, though he stopped short of naming anyone.
Guy trying to make him, stand up or say a complete sentence. I've been there with him through it many, many times, and it's happened very badly and very intensely.
In the documentary, however, Feldman finally broke his silence. In a scene that drew gasps from the audience at the premiere, Feldman named Charlie Sheen as Haim's alleged S.A.er, providing a detailed account that included disturbing references to Crisco being used as lubricant and 2 trailers that Feldman claimed concealed act from public view. According to Feldman, the alleged assault occurred on the set of Lucas, a coming-of-age film where Sheen's character, Cappy, played a protector of sorts for Haim's character. The film, which also featured Winona Ryder and Courtney Thorne-Smith, was released in 1986. Haim was just 13 at the time of the alleged incident. It was unclear whether the potential legal ramifications that had previously kept Feldman from speaking out had been resolved, or if he had simply decided to speak up, despite the risk. After the initial reveal, Feldman didn't mention Sheen's name again, and Sheen wasn't interviewed or given a chance to make a statement in the film. However, when the National Enquirer first published the allegations in 2017, Sheen categorically denied them. Just hours after the premiere, Sheen publicly responded, "These sick, twisted, and outlandish allegations never occurred. Period," his spokesperson told The Wrap. "I would urge everyone to consider the source and read what his mother, Judy Haim, has to say." The allegations against Sheen were supported in the documentary by Feldman's ex-wife, Susie Sprague, who appeared on The Two Coreys, and Jamison Newlander, an actor who grew close to Feldman and Haim after co-starring with them in the 1987 film The Lost Boys. Both claimed that Haim had confided in them about the alleged S.A., suggesting that it was common knowledge in Hollywood circles, but ultimately ignored.
It's a big part of our lives, and then we did the sequels too, so it feels like Lost Boys is just always there.
Feldman had previously identified 3 other alleged abusers from his youth. He called out his former manager, Marty Weiss, for inappropriate behavior, and Alfie Hoffman, the proprietor of Alfie's Soda Pop Club, a sort of Soho house for kids that was popular in the late 1980s. Feldman also accused his former assistant, John Grissom, of misconduct during an appearance on the Dr. Oz show in 2017. Grissom, who had a brief acting career, appeared in the 1988 film License to Drive and 1989's Dream a Little Dream alongside Feldman and Haim. All 3 men were mentioned again in the film, along with Dominic Brascia, a bit actor who befriended Haim and Feldman in the 80s. Neither Grissom nor Hoffman commented on the allegations, and they weren't interviewed for My Truth. Weiss, meanwhile, had been actively defending himself on Twitter, accusing Feldman of changing his story while also revealing that he was a victim of child SA himself. Brascia didn't appear in the film either, though a clip from a Dr. Dr. Oz interview was shown where Judy Haim identified Brasha, not Sheen, as her son's offender in SA case. In the documentary, Feldman claimed that Judy Haim had been part of a deliberate effort to bury the truth about Sheen's involvement and to undermine Feldman's attempts to expose other abusers. In one particularly intense scene, Feldman accused Judy Haim of failing to protect her son. "It's your responsibility, Judy Haim, and not anyone else's," Feldman shouted, his body visibly tense. "So stop putting the blame on me." Judy Haim did not appear in My Truth, and it was unclear if she was asked to comment. She and Feldman had publicly clashed for years, with Judy repeatedly urging Feldman to stop spreading what she called lies and accusing him of fabricating the story to further his own career. Feldman's belief that Judy Haim was out to tarnish his reputation and possibly even threaten his life was one of the more perplexing aspects of the film. Alongside the film's director, Brian Hertzlinger, who also appeared in the documentary, Feldman delved into the antagonism between his fans, whom he affectionately called his Feld fam, and a group of detractors known as the Wolf Pack. Feldman labeled Judy Haim as the queen of the Wolf Pack, accusing her of actively fueling efforts to silence him through intimidation tactics and an online propaganda campaign. It was a theory Feldman had shared before, but the film went further, suggesting that the Wolf Pack's attempts to steamroll Feldman were actually harming victims of child SA and discouraging other victims from coming forward. My Truth cast Feldman as a drawing parallels between his activism and the efforts that exposed figures like Jerry Sandusky, Larry Nassar, and Jeffrey Epstein. Although Harvey Weinstein's name wasn't mentioned directly, director Brian Hertzlinger framed the film within the context of the #MeToo movement, implying that recent events had made it possible to bring Feldman's allegations into the spotlight. The hashtag they used to promote this narrative was #KidsToo.
To get the truth out. Everybody kept saying, you got to get the truth out. You got to get the truth out. Fine.
However, this is not the only theory that's floating around. In 2017, Corey Haim's mother named the man she alleges SA'd her late son. During an appearance on the Dr. Oz show, Judy Haim addressed a National Enquirer report in which former actor Dominic Brascia, who was close with Haim, alleged that a 19-year-old Charlie Sheen SA'd a 13-year-old Haim on set of the 1986 film Lucas. A spokesperson for Sheen had previously told People the actor absolutely denied the claim, and Judy alleged that it wasn't Sheen who SA'd her son, but rather Brascia himself. "This guy Dominic is the guy that abused my son," she said. "My son said so." In her interview, Judy said Haim, who struggled with addiction for decades before dying of pneumonia at 38 in 2010, made reference to the alleged AB he suffered at the hands of Brascia on The Two Coreys, a reality show that chronicled his life with friend and fellow child star Corey Feldman.
You let me get around in my life, man, so to speak, when I was about 14 and a half, and I'm saying this right now.
Judy said Feldman introduced Haim to several people in Hollywood at the time, one of whom was Brascia. She claimed Brascia lived near them in Studio City, and that Haim and his friends would often visit Brascia's home to watch TV and play pool. Judy said that one day she received a call from Haim yelling and screaming, that Brascia allegedly wouldn't get off of him. She rushed over to the apartment and alleged that when she walked in, she saw a fully dressed Brascia sitting on top of her son. "Dominic was sitting on my son, pinning him to the floor, not allowing him to move," she said. "I took a pool cue, and he will remember that, and I went so close to his head, and I said, 'You better get off of him or I'm bashing your head in.' And he got off of him and we left." Judy alleged that Haim had been SA'd by Brascia one other time in that apartment before, but she would not go into further detail. "The industry or the media, they always go and tend to blame a parent," she said. "You know what? You can watch them as much as you can watch them. But what are you going to do? Go out with a 16 or 17-year-old to every single party, to every single movie? It's the same thing on set. What if a producer wants to read lines in the trailer? It's a really tough situation. What are you going to do? My son went in with a whole bunch of boys to play pool, and one day, this is what happened to him." When asked why she thought her son never spoke out about his alleged abuse, Judy said, "He kept it secret for so long because he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want people to think he was gay or say it was his fault," she said. "He said, 'Mom, somebody hurt me. I don't need to hurt them back. I need to take this to my grave.' The memory of the experience has to be horrifying," she said. "Then the guilt and the shame, and what are other people going to think? It's a horrible thing. Victims, you've got to talk nice about victims. We can say, go and speak up, go and tell your parent, go and tell your teacher, go and tell a social worker, but it's not easy." In any case, after Corey Haim's death in 2011, the official autopsy revealed that he died of pneumonia, with no found in his system. But Feldman suggests that Haim's death was more than just a medical tragedy. It was part of a broader conspiracy to silence him. While Haim had a well-documented history of use, the clean toxicology report left many wondering how someone so young and seemingly healthy could succumb to such an illness. Feldman claims that Haim was under constant pressure from Hollywood figures, and that his physical health deteriorated because of the emotional and psychological trauma he endured over the years. Feldman's revelations haven't gone unnoticed. While many praise his bravery, others in Hollywood have worked to discredit him, claiming that he's exaggerating or looking for attention, but the evidence is hard to ignore. With multiple documentaries, interviews, and Feldman's own admissions, it's clear that something sinister was happening behind the scenes. As Corey Feldman continues to fight for justice, the tragic death of his best friend Corey Haim serves as a chilling reminder of the dark side of Hollywood. But will the real culprits ever be brought to justice? And how many more young stars have to suffer before the truth is fully exposed? The questions linger, and as more details come to light, it's clear that Corey Haim's story is far from over. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.